Today is February 16th, 2016. I'm Antoinette Gaskins-Mattingly. I'm in the village of Avon talking with Miss Gloria O'Neal. This is the first of a multi-segment interview that we will do with Miss Gloria. Gloria, can you tell me when you were born and where you grew up?
March the 7th, 1934. I grew up at Avon, North Carolina, on Dog Ridge.
On Dog Ridge. Can you tell me where Dog Ridge is for people who don't know today?
Now, it's the southern part of Avon.
Okay.
It's you go down McMullen Road, then you turn on Williams Road, and all of that is a Dog Ridge.
All of that around Williams Road, that
Williams
area.
Road, yeah, and McMullen Road on that side by Give Grace Store used to be there.
Okay.
Dog Ridge started right there. Mm-hmm.
Right there at Dog
Yeah,
Ridge. Okay. What were your parents' names and where did they grow up?
My father was named Charlie Williams, and my mother was named Rebecca O'Neal Williams. They were brought up here at Avon.
Both of them?
Both of them are here at Avon, yeah.
Were they also from Dog Ridge or were they in...
No, my father was from Pothead. He was raised down in Pothead, way down there on the southern end of Kinnakeet.
Okay.
And my mother was raised in Cat Ridge.
Okay, now you're going to have to give us a little more history and geography. Where is Pothead?
Pothead starts at the end of Williams Road. It goes on down to the landing.
Is that the mailboat landing? Is that what you talk about as the landing?
Might be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
The old post office used to be down there.
Okay. And where is Cat Ridge?
Cat Ridge is up there by, I would say, let me see, if you know the names. You know where Selma George used to live? George Gregg.
Is that over?
And Clemmy,
yes,
up there.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a road across that, and
Okay.
that's Cat Ridge too.
Now, is that over by the Assembly of God Church?
Yes, that's Cat Ridge.
And the old fire station, sort of that area over there was
right
Cat
in there.
Ridge?
It's a big area.
Okay.
Because you have Scarboroughtown on the other side.
Okay, was Scarboroughtown in Cat Ridge or was it further out?
Further out.
Okay, how very interesting. And what did your parents do for a living?
My father was in wholesale groceries.
Okay.
My mother was a housewife. She had 7 children, so she had enough work to do. She didn't have father
Yes,
going
ma'am.
out and living.
Yes, ma'am.
My father had a good living, yeah.
So your father was in wholesale groceries. Did he have a schooner or a boat that he...
No, he had a truck.
He had a truck. Where did he go to get his groceries?
Norfolk, Virginia.
So he would have gone up and gone across the ferry at
Across
Oregon?
the ferry, yeah.
Wow.
On that sandy road. We didn't have no highway then.
Wow.
There's a push and a shove whenever they got stuck.
Did you ever go with him?
Yes, I did.
Did. Wow. How long would it take to leave Avon and go to Norfolk?
Now let me see. I'd have to take time to figure that one out.
Okay.
Like, he would leave like early in the morning, about 3 o'clock. And we'd probably get the 5 o'clock ferry or something like that. And then we'd hit the highway in Nags Head. Then from there, we'd probably take that trip probably 3 hours, from Nags Head, yeah. I would say about 8 hours.
So you probably didn't come home in the same day.
No, no, he didn't. He stayed 2 days so he could get his orders in.
Very interesting. Now, did you graduate from the Kinnakeet school?
No, I went to Kinnakeet school through the 9th grade. And then I went down to Buxton. In the 10th, starting the 10th and the 12th I graduated in 1952. In
1952. Why did you change to the Buxton school?
Well, they went together. They went together.
They consolidated
Consolidated school, yeah.
Okay.
And then we didn't like it very much, but now I'm glad they went down there.
I was going to ask if you liked it.
You know what? I liked it. I liked it all right. The teachers were good. And we had all male teachers, and they're not like women. They're not like women.
Okay.
They're laid back and everything. I enjoyed it down there.
How interesting. Where was the school in Buxton?
On Electric Lane.
On Electric Lane. Oh, where the electric company is now, in that area?
That's right.
Across from Connor's Supermarket, down that road.
Right down Electric Lane,
How interesting. How big was the school?
You want me to show you? I got a picture in here.
Sure.
Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice size building.
I've always wanted one, but Robin found that somewhere. I tried to get Danny Cat. He has them, but he didn't ever come through with it. So,
wow.
I don't know where she got that.
Was it elementary school and high school?
Elementary was on that end, and we were on right there, and that's an auditorium.
Very nice.
In the middle.
And when they consolidated, did they consolidate just Avon and Buxton, or did they consolidate more villages?
Hatteras.
Really?
Preschool already went there.
Oh.
And Rhodathi didn't go down there until we got into 12th grade, the last year, 52.
Okay. So you would have gone down there in around 1949,
About
something
49,
like that.
Yeah,
Very interesting. What did you do after graduation?
I went to business school in Norfolk, Keys Business College, or Coastal, as both any way you want to call them.
Where did you stay while you were up there?
First I stayed with my aunt, my mother's sister, and then I stayed with my sister a while. Then I got a job, work. And then I went down to YWC. That's a good place for girls to go.
Okay.
Because I met a lot of girls, we had a good time there.
So going down to the Y, that was a recreation, a fun?
No, they had a regular, YWCA is a building for young women and to stay. And after I left, they built a new one with all the recreation. They didn't have any when I went.
Ah, I see.
Stayed there.
What kind of work did you do?
Secretary.
Secretary work. What kind of business did you work
for?
I
worked for a wholesale rug company.
Very interesting.
And then I worked for dairy. I was a private secretary to the not vice president, but one lower to him. Had my own little office.
And did you do that for a long time, or?
Well, I was up there about 2 or 3 years.
Very nice. How was it leaving Avon and going to a bigger town or a bigger place?
Well, I tell you the truth, I got homesick at first. And I said, I'm going home. I won't go back home, But I stuck it out. I had to stick with it because I had to work, I got to have a living.
Yes,
so I stuck it out.
Well, that's very nice. Coming back to talking about Kinnakeet a little bit, Mr. Stanley Green wrote Kinnakeet Adventure, a book about coming to Avon in 1930 to be a school teacher and principal. He stayed here until about 1943. You would have been a small child, I think, when Mr. Green was a principal here. Yeah. Do you remember anything about him?
Yeah, I remember when he taught here. I was about in 1st, 2nd grade, and I remember it.
Do you remember people talking about him in the village, as a teacher and then as a principal?
No, I don't remember that. They liked him though. They did. Yes, they did. All my sisters went to him, but they were crazy about Mr. Green.
So he was a nice man?
He was a nice man. Very well liked.
Very nice. I understand that he boarded at Miss Rebecca Keaton's home.
He sure did.
Do you know where that was?
That's right down McMullen Road to the end, very end. Okay. And she had a dairy farm down there. She had cows and chickens and all that. And that's where people bought their sour cream and
Oh, wow.
And clabber, you know, and ice cream, whenever.
I've heard that she sold ice cream.
Because you didn't have no electricity. She used her arm and the regular salt, you know, that would freeze it. I don't understand how they did it, but they did it.
Would she have to make that every day?
I don't know that, because I was a kid.
Well, that's interesting. So would she have been in Dogridge then?
She'd have been in Dogridge.
Okay. Not too far from Mr. Gibbs' store?
Not too far, right down the street.
Okay. I love the idea of getting a lay of the land in the 1930s and 1940s in Kinnakeet.
They used to have Turkle Point, they called it, Turkle Point.
Turkle?
Point.
And what's a turkle?
They called it turtle. I mean, turkle, you know, that's our accent.
So is turkle mean turtle?
Yeah, I mean, turtle, you know, that's why they talked.
Turkle Point.
Turkle Point.
And where was that?
You know where Manson's house is?
Yes.
Where was Ray?
Yes,
right
ma'am.
down Methodist Church Road. Kevin lives right there.
At Turkle Point.
Turkle, yeah.
How interesting. How interesting.
But it's on near the road more. He's in the woods, like.
Did you, in attending school in Kinnakeet, I understand you attended through 9th grade. When you attended, where was the school?
The same place, you know. It was built in 1932.
Built in 1932.
That's the one I went to.
And that's the one you went to?
From first right to the 9th, yeah.
Okay, and where was that?
It was on North End Road, on the right-hand side, closer than, you know, where little Noah and all them live, right there.
Okay, down this end
Road,
of North End Road.
Right, yeah.
Interesting. Did you have any favorite teachers while you were there?
Well,
Can't think.
what you trying to do? Tell me. You want me to admit it?
You can plead the fifth.
Whether or not they're battle axes. I'm going to tell you the truth, kid.
Okay, we'll skip.
Let me see. Lord, I don't know. I like Miss Lassiter. She was my music teacher, and she was my 4th grade teacher, and she was very patriotic. And she taught us all the patriotic hymns and the Pledge of Allegiance. We knew all of that.
Very nice.
And she taught me how to play the flute and music.
Really?
Music.
The flute? How nice.
Yeah, I played the flute.
Did you take music lessons in school or outside of school?
Well, we took inside.
Okay.
And then in the evenings we'd go over there and we'd practice.
With your flute?
With my flute and little Luther and Rita, we'd go there and cut up. They would. I didn't cut up. I was too scared.
Now, I believe I heard somewhere along the way that you played guitar.
Well, I just chords, you know. I from chords. I go to the Bible school down here, you know, and play with chords with kids. And
did you take guitar lessons?
For a while, I didn't stick with it.
And where did you take those lessons?
Right home. A guy, this young kid in church could play, and I said, "Could you come over and teach me chords?" Or something? Sure, he did. Come over in the evening and teach me the chords.
Oh, how nice!
I should have stuck with it, but you know how that is with people. They get involved in something else. I don't know.
Well, that's neat. It sounds like you enjoyed music.
I like music.
Very nice. Can you tell me a little bit about the stores that were in Avon when you were growing up? What were the names of the stores? Where were they located? What types of things you could buy in them?
Well, where I lived down the road, daughter is, they had Gibb Gray store, and then up on Turkle Point, they had George O'Neal store, and then they had Fire Scarborough store, and they had Noe Price's store when I grew up. Some of them would have really unique preserves. I like cherry preserves, and I go to my grandmother's house to spend the night. I'd go to Noah's and get some that cherry preserves. You couldn't get it down at Gibbs store, so I like that.
Did you eat those preserves on biscuits? Or how?
I could eat it just like candy. Probably did. That's all we had to eat. Probably preserves biscuits for supper or an egg. That's what we had.
I've heard a lot about eating biscuits for supper in Kinnakeet.
What do you say? Bread and butter come to supper? That's what it was to some people those days, yeah. It really was.
Now, was Mr. Fields Meekin's
he was
store?
Up the north end. Actually,
he was up the northern.
He was up the northern.
And then
it was a very lucrative store there.
Oh,
very lucrative when I was growing up.
I believe the store is still standing.
Yes,
is that okay? And then now your father, did he have a store or did he supply to other stores?
He had a warehouse where he'd bring his materials and stuff in.
Okay.
And then he would distribute it like on the next day to each store. He would put it in their name and send the driver to each store.
Okay.
Buxton, Hatteras, Trent.
Oh, all over the island.
All over the island.
Oh, how nice. Very nice. So it sounds like you could get nearly what you needed in one of the stores if you...
Well, see, we didn't have electricity when I was growing up. I don't think we got electricity until I was about 16 years old.
Really?
Because you couldn't have beef or anything like that any length of time. Because he would bring beef and everybody would go down to the warehouse that day and he'd have all this beef and they'd go home and cook it that day.
Wow.
During World War II, that was rough.
Yeah.
That's when Hitler was tearing everything up in Europe.
Now, that brings me to a question about, gardens and livestock and how, whether you raised your food or grew your food. Did you all have a garden?
Yeah, my brother Charles had a very big garden. He had everything in there. Melons and muskmelons and all kind of squash and semolins, they call them. Semolins, you know what I mean? Semolins and squash. And ramblers was called semolins and the yellow was called squash. He had it all turnips and everything. And we had chickens and ducks and that's all we had. Because some people had pigs.
They did. And
no,
now
we never had a pig. We didn't have that. We'd have a tiny mess of pigs.
Did livestock roam or did it stay pinned up like the pigs or
when I was growing up, they were pinned up.
They were pinned up then.
Now when Mats and all them were growing up, they roamed the roads. You've heard about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they had different vats and all that kind of stuff. But when I was growing up, they didn't have that.
They were pinned by then. And when we spoke one time, you told me about gathering food, grapes or different things that grew wild. Was that something that people commonly did?
They grew wild up the north end.
The grapes did.
The grapes are, and on the hills. And I'd go up there and pick them and bring them down the road and make jelly out of it. But I did. My mother never did do that. Because they always had grape jelly. Because that wouldn't go bad with you. They would have that. Strawberry and all that kind of stuff.
Are you comfortable to keep going or would you like me to start wrapping it up for today?
Well, how many more questions do you think you have?
I have 100 questions.
Well, probably a couple more.
Okay. You talked a little bit about during World War II, not having the electricity and having to eat, beef the day it came in. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like here on the island during World War II?
Well, what I can remember, we had radio. We heard a lot of stuff, because the Germans were offshore here in their U-2 boats. And after dark, the Coast Guard, the big Kinnakeet Coast Guard, warned every one of us to put shades to the windows and not have a light on.
And is that what was referred to as blackouts?
Blackouts, yeah. So we all had to do that. And you could see flares and everything where they'd sink ships off, you could see them. And then after a while and during the day, we'd go down to the ocean here, and there'd be grapefruits, all where it was on the ship that comes ashore, you know? All that stuff. Wow. So we'd pick it up, bring it home and eat it.
Wow. So it could have been whatever was on a ship to feed the crew?
Yeah, or what was it. After a while, it was float ashore.
Wow.
That was floatable.
Did you see or hear when ships were torpedoed offshore?
Yes, you could hear it. You could hear the bomb, the guns going off. Sure
really?
Did.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And were there rations?
Yeah, they had K rations. They would float ashore too.
Really?
You know, some probably did. Everything went down, came up.
And during World War II, were the village men sent to war?
Yeah, we had quite a few. Jim and Dick and yeah, they did. But none of them got killed though. A couple of them, someone did butts, one or two, I think.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was sad, but
it sounds like it was a frightening time.
it was. Because I was a kid, I didn't know.
How old do you think you were?
I was I was 34 and it was about 40, about 8 or 9.
About 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. People were compatible though, stuck together.
They did.
They did stuck together. And I remember how time has changed. Every morning, all the women went to church and went to the altar and prayed for the war, the boys in the war, for their safety. Now, do you see that with all the war we're having in Afghanistan and Korea and all, Iraq and all that? Times has changed. They should be out there right now morning praying for the boys and girls in war.
For those who are fighting.
That's right. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Well, Miss Gloria.
Is that it?
I have had a lovely time in our first interview session, and I hope to do it again very soon. I think it's probably time to start wrapping it up. Before I do you have anything that you think you'd like to add to today's session?
No, I don't think I do, but it's been wonderful, Annette, that you would come over here and interview me like you did. I really appreciate it, and you're a good, nice girl.
Well, thank you, Miss Gloria. It has been my pleasure. I feel honored to be able to come interview you. So this concludes the first interview session with Miss Gloria O'Neal. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Gloria.
Well, I could probably done it, so